Chad and Swisher do a community podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Oh Guys Productions, powered by RealNerdCorp.com, live on twitch.tv/comic and GameCorp. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of our community podcast. If you didn't already know, I am your host for this evening. My name is Alex Swisher. I'm considered the Crown Vic of podcasting. I am sturdy, reliable, and the best damn vehicle for podcasting that you'll ever meet. Joining me as always is my trusty co-host. Some in the biz call him Gus TT Showbiz, but I prefer to refer to him by his real name, Chad Porto.
I have a hole in my hand. Do you want to watch me drop olives through it?
Yes, Chad.
This is sophomore year community season 2.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are here. The title of this episode is Christmas Pterodactyl and Books.
Put your head down. Pretend like you're sleeping.
Put your head down. Pretend like you're sleeping. Oh, boy. Yes, we are back with another episode of our community podcast. So, we're here. Season 2, sophomore year. There was 24 episodes in season 2. Every episode almost better than the last.
Mostly.
Until you get down to some of them that are just absolutely awful.
Well, celebrity pharmacology is the worst.
Yes. And we will not be talking about celebrity pharmacology.
But I think that's the only bad one, truthfully.
I would say so. There are some episodes that, like, rereading their, like, quick synopsis, I don't think I remember them very well. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, I don't remember very well.
That's the one with Fat Neil?
Yes.
I like that one.
I just don't... And this is 100% why I might not remember it. It may have been playing during a game of Smite, and I may not have been paying attention.
Yeah, I think you'd like that one, because it's literally one of the things you enjoy most in this world. Dungeons and Dragons.
I do enjoy Dungeons and Dragons. This is a fact.
So pharmacology is one. Critical film studies, where Jeff and Abed go and have their dinner with Andre. That's another one. And then competitive wine tasting, where Pierce starts falling for Wu Mei, played by Michelle Krusick. Those are like the three worst by far. In my opinion. Paradigms of Human Memory is a clips show episode that uses never before seen clips. And it's maybe the best episode in the entire season.
It's really good.
I genuinely believe that there isn't a quote-unquote bad season of Community. I like season 4 a lot, which they consider the gas leak year. I like it. I thought it was good. I thought they had the right tone for the show nailed down. I think that people were just pissy because Dan Harmon wasn't doing the show that year because of issues with NBC. But like season 5, season 6, season 1, 2, 3, 4, they're all good. But I think 2 might be where everything worked the best.
I would agree.
Yeah, go on. Okay.
I'm just saying I would agree.
The characters aren't as cartoonish as they would become eventually. The gimmicks with the school are not as outlandish as they would be eventually, because like season 5, they do a game of like the floor is lava, and it just goes like completely bonkers into it. But I think this is like the best kind of balance of sincerity and silliness. Although they do go hard straight on like episode 10 with an actual zombie outbreak that isn't resolved with a goddamn dream sequence. No, there was really zombies.
It was...
Episode 10, I think.
No, episode 10 was mixology certification. It was episode 6.
Oh, okay.
Epidemiology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hobbit fighting zombies.
That's fucking crazy. Like, I can't believe that. Like, oh, episode 6 of season 2, zombie outbreak.
Legitimate zombie outbreak too.
Yeah,
Like-
not even like you said, not even a dream sequence, not like a anything fake, like a legitimate 100% zombie outbreak.
There are zombies in the Community universe, which
Yeah.
apparently coincides with the Cougar Town universe, even though they're not even made by the same production companies. But hey, what are you gonna do? So
Abed loves Cougar Town.
Abed does love his Cougar Town. So this season sees a lot more development with all the main characters. Let's start with Jeff. He doesn't get any.
Probably my favorite part about season 2 is that they shift the focus away from purely being about Jeff and the people around Jeff to just being the people around Jeff, and then Jeff gets to kind of like sit this season out.
Yeah, well, he doesn't sit it out so much as he's the observant. He's the commentary on the season. The only thing he's really involved with are his personal dynamics with Britta and Annie.
Pretty
and
much.
I'm telling you, Jeff is a better man than me, because if Annie told me she loved me, I don't care if she's 18, 19, or 40 fucking thousand years old. I'm saying yes to the dress.
Allison Brie does something for me.
Well, Allison Brie herself admits she's an exhibitionist, so...
Well, yeah, she's been naked in a lot of things.
Well, no, she was on like Conan, and she revealed that when she was in college, she had no problem going around naked all the time. And now I'm lost
sorry,
Swisher.
I stopped listening. I stopped listening.
So
I was thinking about Allison Brie.
So unfortunately for Allison Brie, her seasonal arc is kind of attached to her old guy fetish.
Yeah.
First it's Jeff, then it's oh god damn it. Off the air I can get it. Rich from pottery class. But that's really it. And then there's like a little thing with Pierce involving money, but that's a terrible episode, so we're not really gonna mention it. Although I do like the fact that Annie lives above Dildopolis.
Dildopolis.
When did they open a second location? But with Britta, I'm trying to think of what was Britta's seasonal arc. I guess hers was more in her. She was really just sleeping with Winger the entire season, so that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Like she had her moments.
Yeah, I was gonna say Britta's whole arc of season 2 is God. How do we take this character and just make her fucking suck?
Well, she is the worst, Swisher.
Yeah, and season 2 definitely shows that because nothing she said added to any plot point or progressed the story. It just detracted from the moment.
Well, let's first give her recognition. She was awesome as the can't do anything right in the paintball chick. She was fantastic in the Dungeons and Dragons episode where she falls in love with Abed's fake, what was he, fucking, like a gremlin? I don't remember. A troll?
I don't know.
No, a gnome. I think he was a gnome. And like she develops like genuine feelings, so when the character dies, she actually has an emotional reaction. And Jeff is just staring at her like, it's Abed playing a character. And she screams at Jeff, I don't expect you to understand. So
Well, that happens twice in this season then. Because, what is it? During paintball, when Abed turns himself into Han Solo and Annie falls in love with Han Solo Abed.
Yep, she does. Will you be back? No.
No.
Seemed kind of like just this kind of thing.
Oh, God.
Apparently LeBron's not playing at the moment.
Oh, well.
Oh, well. So, let's see what else we got. With Abed, we continue to find out more about his interpersonal relationships. The episode that broke my heart was the Christmas episode. Because
Yes.
This is also the season where Britta discovers she wants to be a therapist, and she wants to therapize people.
Oh, yeah. Therapies.
We find out that Abed is, his mother is Polish, so that's new, and that she has a new family, and even though she's like 50, so, it's one of those things where, as a holiday episode goes, it works really well. The relationships between Abed and the group become so much more important after this episode. And it also kind of dives deeper into the smaller character kind of makeup of each character of the show. Like Jeff is very much blasé. Annie's very caring and sympathetic. Troy's willing to do anything for Abed. Pierce, even though he's kind of a dick, I think more or less, does care about the people in this group. Of course, Shirley thinks she's high and mighty, but it all plays off very well into this episode.
So, like, the big thing about Pierce in season 2 is that it really just goes, like, they really dig in, they harp into the reason why there is one episode in particular, because he's been at this school for 12 years. This is the season which he reveals that, and he's never had a friendship last longer than a semester. And so the reason that he's mean to people is because he's just expecting them to leave anyways. And it really digs into why Pierce really goes in depth on Pierce's loneliness and his want for people in his life. And it, like, even though Pierce will continue to be a dick, it goes to show, like, there is character depth beyond the goofy exteriors and cartoonish personas. But yeah. And that's, I think season 2 does a really good job of setting up that character depth for all of the characters in the study group. Yeah.
Pierce breaks his legs and develops a pill addiction.
Off if you wanted to continue your point.
No, you're good. Pierce breaks both of his legs and develops a pill addiction.
Really deep character, very lonely.
The best part about his pill addiction is that it leads into an episode where he tells everyone that he's dying. Just screw with them. And he springs LeVar Burton on Troy.
Yeah.
That's fucking great. I love that. But I guess the biggest arc of the season goes to Shirley, whom I absolutely adore. She's one of my favorite characters in the show. Especially when she gets all, like, tough mom, like... oh, what did she say? So it was the Halloween episode, and Leonard came up and grabbed at her when he was a zombie. And Shirley turns around and goes, "Leonard, I am a Christian woman." And then Leonard starts coming at him, and she's like, "Leonard, I will bust your ass." And then Leonard, as a zombie, turns around and slinks away. Because even zombie Leonard does not want to fuck with Shirley. I love that. But she gets pregnant in this season because of the fact she hooked up with Chang during the Halloween episode. And then we get Andre back. And there's a relative debate on who's the father. Is it Andre or is it Chang's? Andre, by the way, is played by Malcolm Jamal Warner, who is fantastic in this show.
Yes, he's a very awesome addition to the supporting cast for season 2.
Yeah, he only has like 4 or 5 episodes, but they're pretty solid episodes. We end up finding out, though, that it's not Chang's. It's, in fact, Andre's baby with Shirley. But there's a really great scene when Shirley's giving birth in their anthropology class, because that's the class of the year's anthropology. And he's like convincing her, like, "Oh, Chang baby's like, we're born in rice patches all the time, and we come out super strong. Like, don't even worry about it. We're made for this kind of environment. Like you're good." And like she ends up having the baby, and it's Andre's. But then Shirley, out of because of who she is, decides to name the baby Ben after Chang. And I thought that was like a really just like it got me. It got me right in the goddamn feels, man. I'm a grown man going, it's so goddamn sweet.
What's the baby's names ends up being Benjamin? What's Andre's last name?
Oh God, it's Benjamin Burton or Benjamin.
It's
No, it's Benjamin, I think.
No, it's not Ben Benjamin. I forget what Shirley's
Ben
last
Bennett.
name is. Ben Bennett. That's it. Shirley Bennett. Ben Bennett.
And then she goes, "Oh damn."
No. Ben is fine. We can make Ben work. But yes, you did bring up another point there. For season 2, the Jeffrey Winger Ultimate Blow-Off class is Anthropology 101.
No, it's not. The ultimate blow-off class we'll get to, but the anthropology is the group class. The ultimate blow-off class is its own episode.
Right. Yes. It starts off being what we assume is going to be the ultimate blow-off class, and the only reason that Jeff agrees to enroll in it with the group is because he figures it could be an easy A.
Yes.
Which it does turn out to be an easy A because of the events of what happens with Professor June Bauer.
So anthropology gets set up at the end of season 1. You know, he's going around the group, anthropology. So season 2 starts off with them coming back from summer. And the first episode was great because Troy's now living with Pierce.
Yep.
And he's living above Dildopolis.
Yeah.
And when they come together, they're all like excited to see each other. And Pierce walks up to Troy and he's like, "So what did you do all summer?" And Troy just looks at him and goes, "Lived with you." So it turns out Troy's now running a Old White Man Says Twitter account, and he just tweets anything that Pierce says. And the best line was, we're like Batman and Dolomite. And Troy goes, "Batman actually had a guy. His name was Robin." And he goes, "Whoa, Troy, I don't want to pigeonhole you. You can be anyone. You can be Dolomite, Shaft, Mr. T."
It pretty much is that. I don't remember who the third example was. I don't think it was Mr. T, but
it was
yes,
his character
Dolomite
from A-Team, I think.
the B.A. Baracus?
I think so.
I don't remember.
He does say Dolomite and Shaft, though. I remember that.
He does absolutely say Dolomite and Shaft, and it's fucking. They really ramp. Like, his racism and homophobia goes rampant in season 2, but definitely gets upped. And that is among one of the many moments. The other great Pierce moment is the speech that he gives. In which episode is it that it has Paige?
Oh, yes, that's hang on, I'm looking for it. It's the fucking Valentine's episode. Early 21st century romanticism.
Yes, early 21st century romanticism. Britta befriends Paige, who she thinks is a lesbian, and Britta's only friends with her because she wants to be friends with a lesbian to kind of like make sure that people know that she's not homophobic. And,
well, no, she does it to up her woke quotient, if you will.
Right, that is exactly that's what she said. And so Pierce goes on this whole speech that gets cut off by the intro to the show, and it's basically a speech of him pretty much predicting that she's going to eventually out herself as a lesbian, and him kind of being like, "I told you so," but also congrats for finally coming to terms with it. And then after he finishes, Jeff just looks at me and goes, "Wow, that was oddly supportive in some paragraphs." Which is just fantastic. And then Pierce responds to that by saying, "Wait till you hear the one I have written for you."
Well, the best part is, like, Pierce isn't a bigot. He doesn't care, right? Like, he's offensive to everyone. And that's highlighted in the season 3 season finale when the character that we meet in season 2, Jeff's former running buddy at his law firm, played by Rod Corddry, Alan Connor, Alan shows it back up at the end of season 3, I think. I think that's when it was. And Alan's like, God, Winger, this place has made you so gay. And of all people, Pierce goes, hey, don't use gay as a derogatory term. And everyone's just like, wait, Pierce said that? So, like, Pierce, like, does have some evolution as a character. And, like, he's never really, like, a bad guy in the first few seasons, but he's hard to love. I think that's the best way to describe him. He's very prickly. But yeah, so we find out about Alan Connor, and it turns out that Alan is, in fact, the guy who got Jeff disbarred because Jeff was a better lawyer than he was. And we find this out while meeting Jeff's former boss, Ted, played by Drew Carey, who's most notable for having a hole in his hand. I can't make that up.
No.
In fact,
no, you can't.
There's even a scene where Ted goes, listen, I know you guys do your best to not look at my hole in the hand. And I appreciate that. You know, you guys don't stare. You don't ask any questions. You know, I know I have, and I know you look sometimes, but you don't make a big deal about it. So, you know, this is a thank you for all you do. And he grabs an olive and he drops it through the hole. And he's like, Merry Christmas. Or whatever it was. So like it's one of those things where even the secondary characters and the side characters for this season just fucking ramp up to a goddamn 11. But we also find out in this season that Pierce loses his mother. And Jeff is hell-bent on outing him, essentially. But Jeff, in his own way, comes to terms with his own mortality, because this was also the episode where Patton Oswalt comes back as the nurse and tells him that his cholesterol is a little high, so he starts freaking out about it. But, you know, as he's driving to the morgue where Pierce's mother is to show Pierce that his mother's dead and not melted down in a lava lamp, essentially, Pierce ends up playing a message that his mother wrote, and it like touches Jeff too on a very emotional level. And he, you know, he's on the way to take them to see Pierce's mother, but he gets them there by saying that he's going to take them to this really good ice cream place. And like after listening to Pierce's mother's words about how you should enjoy life, they're like, so how far is the ice cream place, Jeff? And Jeff just goes, you know, I remember a better place. We're going to go to that one instead. And it was like a nice, really kind of self-affirming moment for Jeff. But that episode is fantastic because it's Troy who finds her, and Troy's having a hard time dealing with that. But then when Troy finds out that her last moments on this earth, she made a mixtape, he's like, oh, that's so gangsta. Also, that's the episode where Britta and Annie get into a fight in oil.
Oh, yeah. That's right, because the end of that episode, they're sitting there covered in... It's not the end of that episode, but after they have their fight in oil, they come back from getting ice cream, and the three of them are just standing there with ice cream, watching them fight.
Goddamn. It's a good episode because the entire thing is that Annie's like, we have to save the ducks. And she's like giggling and shit. And Britta gets really pissed at this because, personally, I think it boils down to Britta being a chick and wanting the attention herself, but also having just such intense morals and self-imposed ideologies that she's not willing to go the route Annie goes. And so she's often at odds with herself. So instead of just kind of acquiescing and accepting that she herself is very abrasive, she then starts to become condescending to Annie and starts doing all the same thing Annie's doing out of spite. And then Annie's like, listen, I know what you're doing, but you want to see what you look like? I'm going to show you what you look like. And then Annie just starts screaming in people's faces, hey, you're dumb. I'm smarter than you. So it's a very 180 on that. So it's great. But the best part was Britta's screaming at the start of their little segment about them helping like the little oil covered pets and stuff. And she's like, the oil is killing these animals. And then some dude just screams, we agree with you. No one's on the other side of this issue. And then Britta kind of just like steps back for a second and just looks around. Because like everyone is on this side of the issue, and Britta's still screaming obscenities at people. It's my favorite little bit of that joke of that episode is that just that guy is like, no, we agree with you. No one's on the other side of this issue. because I want to scream that just every time someone starts getting into a debate on Twitter. No one's on the other side of this issue. So then we get basic rocket science. This is the one with their fucking nod to Apollo 13. They get a KFC rocket bus or rocket wagon or whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
Rocket simulator. And it's terrible. But it's a school simulator, or it's a spaceship simulator that Greendale got, and City College is getting one too. So like the build up to the episode is like all the these students, like fucking Leonard's doing it. I think Vicky was doing it. Someone else, like they're all getting ready to like go be astronauts, and then like the Greendale study group gets taken away by accident. But Abed's not there because he ran to go get his spacesuit or whatever the fuck he was doing. So then he's like trying to talk to them like it's goddamn Apollo 13, and he's Gary Sinise. It's fucking hilarious.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's one of those where they tap into a lot of really weird, kind of gimmicky episodes for the season, but they all work really well. Like, where else are you going to sit here and say we're going to put them in a KFC space simulator and pretend it's Apollo 13 and go, yeah, no, that makes sense?
Nowhere.
No. So, by the by, you mentioned anthropology and the teacher. The teacher's played by Betty White.
Yep.
And Betty White gives them a diorama on her first day and tells them that, you know, I'm going to give you a box of tools, and you have to tell me which one is the best tool. So the study group figures it out, and, you know, they argue with each other because, of course, they do. And eventually Jeff's like, teamwork is the best tool. And Betty White goes, interesting idea, Mr. Winger. But actually, I was thinking something different. If you combined all the tools in there, you get this. And she pulls out like a goddamn Power Rangers weapon. And then
it's literally like a fucking bow that has a like a restraining collar down the middle of it.
It's like, honest to God, like think about all of the like with Power Rangers, they all had their own weapons, and then you can combine them. That's literally because like there's a hammer, there's an animal restraining noose, like you said. There's a bow and arrow. There's like a screwdriver. There's like a pole. There's like all this shit there. So she shoots the hammer at Jeff. Then he gets caught in the noose and gets dropped to the ground. And he's like, she's like, so how is your teamwork working now, or something like that?
It's respect.
Oh yeah, respect. You come at me with your respect, and I'll defend myself with this, or vice versa. But so apparently he starts to black out, and I think Troy throws her drink in his face, but she drinks her own urine, so Troy actually threw her urine in Jeff's face.
Yes.
It's also the episode we find out where Chang is trying to get into the study group, and that's why he enrolled in anthropology with them, because now that he's no longer a teacher, he needs to get a degree. And at the end of the episode, Jeff's like, oh, we'll let him in eventually. And that becomes a big part of the season for Chang, his desire to be in the study group. He's actually like that's the biggest overarching plot point besides Shirley's pregnancy is Chang's desire to get in the study group.
Yes. And that goes through a lot of episodes.
Yes, it does.
I don't even think you would get a definitive answer for it.
I think we do, but it's a no because Chang goes crazy.
True. I do like in it's applied anthropology and culinary arts, or it might be one of the ones. No, I'm sorry. I don't remember which one it is. I'm trying to remember. It's whichever one they in the episode they have to build their final diorama for God, why can't I think of the professor's name? Ian Duncan.
Yeah.
For Duncan. And they're building a diorama of themselves.
Yeah, it's Paradigms of Human Memory.
Paradigms of Human Memory. Okay. So in Paradigms of Human Memory, they're doing their final diorama, and it's the dioramas of all of them in the library doing their studying, and I love how if you look closely enough, there is a little Chang miniature that they built for the diorama who's just looking in the window of the library study room.
Let's see.
So what episode were we on?
5. Messianic myths and ancient peoples. This is the Abed makes a religious movie.
This is my least favorite.
Yeah, it's not great.
The whole thing is just a big allegory for religion and Christianity, and it's very heavy-handed, and it's not like the jokes just kind of like the jokes just don't land. But it does have a great subplot of Pierce being old and going to be friends with Leonard and the other old people on campus, and they're known as the hipsters because they've all had hip replacements.
The Abed allegory isn't so much about religion as filmmakers taking themselves too seriously. Because
and I
Abed starts to see himself as Jesus.
Yeah, I just think that the two plot points of that together just make me not care.
Yeah, it's still very heavy-handed, regardless.
Yes, I understand that film is like a huge passion project for a lot of people. I don't give a shit about filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's just like there's a whole lot of processes that I don't understand that go on behind a camera, and I never will, and I'm never going to try to learn because it just doesn't interest me. And combining that with turning the most likable character into the most unlikable version of that character in one episode, just kind of, I was like, all right, well, this episode can be over.
I get that.
Yeah. And then we get to the best episode of the season. What might be the best episode.
That would be episode 6, Epidemiology. Rich is back. So the episode basically centers around a zombie outbreak, but it starts with Pierce getting sick eating taco meat, essentially. So Annie's looking for a doctor, and she walks up to a guy wearing a coat because Annie's the smartest person in the school and thinks that if you're at a costume party, the guy wearing the doctor outfit is a doctor. Good job, Annie. And she walks up to the doctor and goes, "Excuse me, can you take a look at my friend? He's sick." And the guy is like, "I'm not a doctor," and walks away. And then you hear someone go, "I'm a doctor," and it's fucking Rich from Podc class dressed as a goddamn banana.
That's right. Yeah. I wish Halloween was happening this year because I would just go as a banana.
Oh, it is happening. We'll find a way to make it work. So it's revealed that it's food poisoning. At least that's what they believe. And Rich tells the Dean, I'm pretty sure that's food poisoning. And Dean goes, "Rich, what did I tell you to say about food poisoning? Rule out food poisoning and not to say it." It turns out, though, that it's some type of chemical type of rabies that the United States government had created, and Dean Pelton had accidentally bought. How, I don't know, but bought it at a army surplus store, trying to shop for cheap foods for the Halloween party. The people eat it, start turning into zombies. It goes about as well as you think it would. Pierce is the first one to go, and then he bites Starburns. And Annie's like, Starburns, your symptoms are progressing faster than everyone else. It must be because of the bite. And he's like, "Oh, I don't want to get sick." And then he goes, "My name's Alex." No one's going to call you Alex. It's not going to happen. But so it transpires from there. The zombies start to break out, and Troy screams, "Zombies!" And that's the best part of the goddamn episode. It's just Troy's reaction to Leonard's a zombie. But
Leonard's a zombie.
There's also a great little subplot to start the episode with Troy and Abby going to the Halloween party as Ripley and the Alien Queen from Aliens. So Troy gets made fun of. Jeff makes fun of him in return, says no one wants to date their kid brother. So Troy decides to dress up as a sexy Dracula. And Abed goes, "Don't you mean vampire?" And Troy goes, I don't need to know what kind of sexy Dracula I am to be a sexy Dracula, Abed. Clearly doesn't understand the concept of names. So the episode kind of spirals from there. The group, Chang and Rich, board themselves up in the little study room, and they find out that the thing's spreading through bites. So if anyone's bit, they need to come forward. And Chang, I don't know why this makes me laugh, but every time I watch this episode, I lose my shit when Chang goes, "You bit, you bit." I don't know why. It just makes me chuckle. It turns out, though, that Rich, of all people, has been bit, and this is where Jeff expresses himself that he actually hates Rich less now because he's so less perfect as a zombie. Britt has also been bit, so things need to, go quickly from here. Chang freaks out, throws one of his skates because he's dressed up as not Michelle Kwan and not Michelle... What was the other one? Michelle Kwan and... I can't remember. I don't know.
It's... Fuck.
Michelle Kwan and something.
Let me see here. I can find it.
Christy Yamaguchi.
Not Michelle Kwan, not Christy Yamaguchi.
But that's all anyone can see him as. The inverse is that Shirley's also there, and all anyone can ever see her as is Miss Piggy because of her voice and the outfit and the blonde hair. They're going as Petty Fleming and Glenda the Good Witch, respectively. And it's a subtle play on the stereotypical reactions that we have when we see something and we assume from there. So it's a nice little kind of pointer, if you will. But so Chang throws his Petty Fleming skate at the window. It breaks, and Annie gets got. That's where I kind of lose the episode. I'm like, nope, no longer interested. No more Annie. Jokes aside, the three who do escape are Troy, Abed, and Jeff. Chang and Shirley get caught in a bathroom and eventually get bit, but not before they have sex. So there's that. Troy, Abed, and Jeff get to the basement, and they feel they're home free. So they start going. A cat starts to attack them randomly. Best line of the episode: "What is up with that cat?" And then Troy goes, "Is someone throwing it?" And then I think Abed says, "We need to get out of here." Troy says, "We need to get out of here." And Jeff goes with the best line: "Back burner, Troy. This cat needs to be dealt with."
Cat needs to be dealt with.
So eventually Jeff ends up getting bit when he opens up the wrong door. And Rich, now wearing his very expensive jacket, starts biting Jeff. And Abed and Troy were able to get to a window. But Abed ends up letting Troy escape. He goes, "Be the first black man to escape, Troy." And then Abed gets bit, and Troy, they had figured out beforehand that, what's going on is a virus, so they're able to break the fever that's causing the virus. They can cure everyone, so Troy's got to get back inside, get to the thermostat, and cool the building with the AC unit to break the fevers. He does, but not before he gets bit. And he gets bit by Abed and Shirley, and his reaction is the best, because he starts to get bit. And then he pushed them out and goes, "All right, you bit me. You did what zombies do. Congratulations."
It's a very good moment.
It is. It's the weirdest overreaction. But Troy ends up breaking the fever. He gets the thermostat in time and everyone's saved. But the United States military essentially arrives to kill everyone until they realize that everyone's actually now fine. So instead they dose them and destroy their memories of the night, and they just go about thinking that someone roofied the entire party, which is the new cover story. And I think Annie goes like, "I can't believe someone roofied the party." And Chang goes, "I can't believe I was the one who did it." And Jeff goes, "I can't believe I believe you." And I don't.
And I don't.
So the episode ends there, but not before Troy finds out that he had a voicemail from Chang the night of the Halloween party, where he discloses to Troy that he and Shirley are in the middle of having sex. So that ends up with the greatest question in community history that's never resolved. To quote Troy, "Why'd he call me?"
I was going to say, please do not forget that little detail. Why did he call me?
It's like nothing else matters. He doesn't really initially care about the call or who's doing what. What he cares about is why was it him?
Oh my god,
It's genuinely great.
it's a really good episode.
So
Um,
we get aerodynamics of gender next.
yes, aerodynamics of gender. The bitches. Um, so what is it? Britta, Shirley, and Annie are all going to take a women's study class, and Abed wants to join them. But they kind of want to do it as just like a girls only thing. So Abed just ignores what they say and joins the class anyways and saves them seats. They choose to sit in the front, but that is when the Mean Girls, led by Megan, who is played by Hilary Duff, shows up and just starts tearing them down with insults. So they eventually move to the back, and Abed points out that their flaws and basically is able to tear them down without saying anything. And that is when Britta, Shirley, and Annie are going to bond with Abed by turning him into a mean girl. And then they slowly but surely start abusing that power of taking Abed around to everyone and just having him insult them through his astute powers of observation, and his tactlessness, I guess is the best way to say it, because Abed is known for being cold and emotionless about everything. So he has no qualms about insulting people down to their core and pointing out their biggest insecurities to them. So eventually they run mad with power, and they're using Abed's ability to get things that they want, and they eventually just turn into the Mean Girls. And when Abed, it's a very like Terminator style sequence, right?
So Abed goes essentially, isn't this wrong? And Britta goes, it's not wrong when you're doing it to bad people.
I'm sorry, yes. It's not Terminator, it's RoboCop.
Right. So when things go sideways, it's because Abed now sees his friends as the bad people. So he goes after them. And then he realizes he went too far and then does it to himself.
He writes down all of his biggest insecurities and the best insults about himself and hands it off to Megan in order to restore balance. And it unseats him and Shirley, Britta, and Annie as the bitches, the mean girls, and puts Megan and her cronies back on top. The little side, the side plot of this episode is that Jeff and Troy find a a trampoline in a Zen garden that's hidden. It's secret. The groundskeeper has kept it hidden because there's a nationwide ban on campus trampolines because they lead to too many injuries. And they won't let Pierce in on it because Pierce ruins everything. So they go to this trampoline. They become one with their Zen, their spirituality, under the guidance of this groundskeeper. And Pierce ends up using his drone to sneak up on them. And I'm trying to remember exactly what he says. He finds out about it. He says, "If you guys don't let me jump on this trampoline, I'm gonna tell everyone about this place." So they let Pierce go on, and he starts jumping, and then he says, "Troy, get up here and double bounce me." And that's one of the rules of the Zen Garden. Is the rules are don't tell anyone about this place and no double bouncing. I forget. Pierce says something hilarious. He's like, "You better get up here and double bounce me, or else he's going to do something." And I can't remember what it is. But reluctantly, Troy gets up there and double bounces him, and he double bounces him so high that he launches over this hedge and lands feet first in a dumpster, breaking both of his legs.
So the groundskeeper tells them what the garden's about, what the Zen place is. It's a place free from darkness.
Yes.
And then they both take turns. Jeff and Troy both take turns, and the groundskeeper goes, I was hesitant. Not everyone takes to the bouncing, but then some are also natural bouncers.
Natural. He says natural jumpers.
Yeah, natural jumpers. And then Troy just kind of smiles and, shucks. That was important. I'm going to let you close out the big reveal. Because it makes me laugh the entire I'm still laughing about it.
So he says all of this.
His name's Joshua,
and
by the way, the groundskeeper.
yes, Joshua the groundskeeper. As the trampoline is being torn apart by chainsaws, and they're breaking apart piece by piece. It turns to Jeff and Troy, and they go, "This seems a little excessive." So then Joshua comes up, and he basically tells them that he's going to be leaving. He should have known better than to trust
been
than to let a. Yes, he got fired, and he says, "Doesn't matter. I should have known better than to let a." I forget what he says here. I think he says black guy.
Yeah, his exact words were, I got fired, and they're like, Joshua, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He goes, it's my own fault. I should have known better than to let a black guy come into my garden. And then Troy starts nodding and smiling like, yeah, no. Wait, what?
Yeah, and then Joshua, is it there that he takes his shirt off?
No. So Joshua goes, yeah, black people ruin everything, and he leaves. And then Troy goes, oh my God, Joshua was a racist. I didn't see that coming. No, that came out of nowhere. And Jeff goes, did it? And then they go back to, a place free from darkness. Some people are natural jumpers. And then they see him with hedge clippers and without a shirt on, and there's a swastika there, and they're both looking at it, and he goes, it's going to be a maze. And they both look at each other and just nod and laugh.
Oh, my God. That is one of the best reveals of all time.
It's going to be a fucking maze. So,
oh man!
Before we go on, there's two parts of the first two episodes we forgot to mention, or two of the first three episodes. In Accounting for Lawyers, there's a pop and lock-a-thon, where if they win, that Cheng joins the group. Cheng spends 4 hours on his own popping and locking after the disaster of the trip to Jeff's old law firm. Which, by the by, how did we forget this? Annie chloroforms a dude.
Oh, yeah.
We forgot about that.
They chloroform this janitor. He goes, this isn't your office. She chloroforms him. They go, what do we do? And they all lay down on the floor. And they wake up. And they go, oh, we all got chloroformed. He's like, wait. None of this makes sense. Who are you?
Then Annie
chloroforms him again. And I forget who it was. It was either Troy or Abed. They go, this was a stupid idea.
Well, Troy goes, Annie, who are you?
Yeah, that's right. And Abed says, this was a stupid plan. And Annie's like, you're right. We should probably just run.
I think this was a terrible idea. But there's also a little bit before they break in where Troy's like me and Abed will go in, Annie, you do lookout. And she's like, why do I got to do lookout? And she's like thrusting herself forward like a little kid when they're throwing a tantrum, but her chest is jiggling, so like they're looking at her. And then she realizes they're staring at her boobs, and she just comes and goes, "You guys are gross. I don't even want to go with you." So there's that sets up her need to want to show them that she can do crazy shit too. But in the next episode, the psychology of letting go, Abed's not even involved in most of the episode unless you're paying attention, because in every scene where something's happening at the school, it's like Shirley or Jeff or Britta or whoever, and Abed's not there. But if you look in the background of every shot, Abed is there. He's with a pregnant woman. He's talking to a pregnant woman. He almost gets into a fight with the pregnant woman's boyfriend. Then in one scene where Shirley's watching the girls fight, you see Abed delivering a baby over Shirley's shoulder.
Yeah.
That's like one of the best fucking gags of the season, because it comes back in the episode where Shirley gives birth, where Abed's like, I gave birth before. Or I helped a girl give birth before. And Troy's like, when? And Abed's like, earlier this year. And Troy's like, do you have like random adventures without me? And Abed goes, sometimes. And Troy goes, cool. as like holding back tears, me too. I just love those two together so much. They're adorable. So anyway.
They're great.
So cooperative calligraphy. This is the Annie's pen goes missing.
Might be one of my favorite episodes of the season.
So it's a little battle episode, and Annie's freaking out because one of her pens goes missing, but it's not the first time it's happened, and she's tired of it because she feels disrespected. Britta kind of antagonizes her a little bit and by being condescending, so Annie comes back at her, and they're all going, accusing one another. And then Jeff's like, this is stupid, I have a date. And Annie goes, why? Is that because you have the pen? And he turns around and goes, all right, we're doing this. And he dials up his phone and he calls his date. And we'll just say her name's Marissa. And he goes, Marissa, sorry I can't do our date tonight. I'm doing a bottle episode. And he hangs up the phone.
He doesn't. I don't even know if he manages to hang up the phone before he throws it angrily onto the table.
I just love that he goes, we're doing a bottle episode, and chucks it.
We're doing a bottle episode. Throws his phone onto the table.
So during the episode, we find out that Abed is taking notes of the girls' menstruation cycles.
So good.
And like something, but like they're doing it during like an inspection of bags. So like, Jeff pulls open Troy's bag and finds out that he's got a pillow in his bag, and Troy's like, Jeff goes, Troy, you just became my hero. So when they do it with Abed and they find out what Abed's notebook is, Pierce just kind of goes, Abed just became my hero.
Abed just became my hero.
So this is also the episode that kind of sets up with Shirley's pregnancy. I don't think they know about it yet. At least I don't think
so they find the pregnancy test.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. She claims that she's rekindled her relationship with Andre over Labor Day weekend, but Abed's chart says that she was ovulating during Halloween, so there's no way she could be pregnant. So they don't know that she is pregnant at this point, but they discover the pregnancy test, and that is what sows in the seeds. Or no, she doesn't even know yet, because she doesn't remember Chang, her entanglement with Chang.
Oh God,
Chang.
Are we going with entanglement now? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I said it specifically because fuck Jada Pinkett Smith. It's called cheating.
Yep. All right, so we got to figure this out, because was this also the episode where Troy tells Shirley about it? No. No, that's the mixology. No, that's Asian population studies.
Yes. Yeah, because it's pretty much immediately when because is that where he's wearing the sweater and he comes out and he what is it? Jeff says, "Nice sweater." Yes, it is Asian population studies, because it's raining out, and Andre gives Jeff the big speech, and then Jeff runs through the rain.
We'll get there. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great, because it's building around the Annie-Jeff relationship.
Oh man.
Yeah. The bottle episode. So the subplot is, during the episode, the only thing Troy and Abed want to do is go to the Greendale Puppy Parade.
Yes.
Wonderful idea. But what ends up happening is they get stuck in the library the entire time, and all that's kind of nonsense. But what ends up happening is the group kind of just realizes that, they're torn down to their nothings, and they still can't find the pen. So Annie kind of says, like, I wish one of you stole it, because at least then I'd know that, someone was, that someone. What did she say? It was something like, it would be easier to know, because then we could figure it out, or it would be easier to know, or not to think that one of you guys is this malicious to go to this length.
So it comes down to that point where she says, is like, I think she says something of like, I could at least know who took it, so we could just put it behind us.
Mm-hmm. But then the other theory is, like, Troy just shouts out, like, what if a ghost took it?
Yes, and then that is what, because Jeff says no, Troy has a point. And basically, Jeff goes on this whole speech about how,
what if a ghost actually took it?
Yes, they're such good friends, and they've made, it doesn't matter who took the pen. He says, we all forgive you. We're not going to get mad at you. If you come forward with the pen right now, we can just move on with our lives. And still no one comes forward. So he says that since it was impossible for anyone to have taken the pen and still not confess, it's so unlikely for none of them to confess to have the pen that it's just as likely or even more likely that a ghost taking the pen would be more reasonable.
Yeah. And then they start to come up with this elaborate story about why the pen was stolen, and it's like, aw. So they end up getting dressed and they end up leaving, but the study room is still a fucking wreck. But then we find out, was it this specific episode we find out that it was the monkey who had stolen it?
Yes. Because at the end of the episode, Annie's boobs comes from the vent and snatches up the spoon.
So the funny thing is, if you actually watch the episode, right when they're finishing the diorama, you will see a little monkey hand take the pen. But the angle is so shot in a way that you're focused on the faces of the actors as every scene is designed to pull the eyes to. If you're not looking for it, you won't see it. It's fucking diabolical. So they were right. It wasn't anyone in the group. So Jeff saves the day. So conspiracy theories and interior design is maybe my favorite episode of the entire thing, just because of the just cattywampus reveal. So the dean and Annie find out that Jeff has a blow-off course of all blow-off courses. It is a independent study of conspiracy theories with a professor named Professor Professorson. And
it's Dutch.
He thinks it's Dutch. I don't know. It might be Dutch.
I think it's Dutch, and I think it means professor.
And so Dean and Annie drag Jeff to where the classroom's supposed to be. It's a closet, and Jeff's freaking out like, oh my God, this is real. I swear to God, this is real. And then all of a sudden, Professor Professorson appears. It's Kevin Corrigan. No, is that right? Is that his name? Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin Corrigan.
Kevin Corrigan of, what is it, Grounded for Life fame? He played the brother.
Let me just double check.
Yeah, Grounded for Life.
Grounded for Life. He was also in Goodfellas and a whole bunch of other stuff.
So he comes out of the room and goes, "Good job, Jeffrey. You figured it out." And the dean goes, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm Professor Professorson, and I teach conspiracy theories and such." And then Jeff starts going, "You really had me there, Professor." And then everyone kind of meanders off and walks away. And Annie goes, "Jeff, I am a horrible friend. I owe you such an apology. I thought you were making all this up because you wanted to get a blow-off class." And he goes, "Annie, I did make all this up." And Annie's like, "Then who's that?" And Jeff goes, "I don't know." And then she's like, "Brother." And then Jeff just cuts her and goes, "I don't know." And he's smiling. He's so excited. So Annie goes, "Why do you think, we got to figure this out?" And goes, "No, we don't." And she's like, "Aren't you a little bit curious of how this happened?" And Jeff goes, "Well, maybe I'm a god, Annie. I've been denying the science for too long." So the episode ends up kind of unraveling, and it's revealed that Professor Professorson is actually the drama school teacher, Sean Garrity, and he owes Dean Pelton a favor. And this is, how he's paying it back through acting classes. So they come up with this convoluted reveal at the end of the episode, where Jeff and Annie are going to convince Dean Pelton that one of them died. So they all got guns, and I think Jeff gets shot by Annie, and Annie's.
I'm reading it now, and this is exactly how it's set up. So Jeff and Annie bring in the dean to expose. He goes by a couple different names. So it's Sean Garrity is the actual drama professor.
Wooly is the nickname that they think he's going by for the episode.
Yes, to fake the entire night school thing. So they bring in the dean to expose Wooly's sham. So it says, feigning a lack of forgiveness, Annie shoots Garrity with the prop gun. The dean suddenly shoots Annie, and in response, Jeff shoots the dean. Then Annie sits up and tells Jeff she and the dean had created the night school ploy to teach Jeff a lesson about academic dishonesty. The dean then sits up, and Jeff, who had deduced that Annie helped the dean, reveals he and the dean wanted to catch Annie about being a better friend. Stay with me. Upset, Annie reveals another gun and shoots Jeff. The dean becomes terrified and confused by the conspiracies. Jeff sits up and explains that he and Annie had created the ploy with another prop gun because the dean switches alliances too quickly. Garrity then rises and collects the guns, but a security officer,
it's actually a police officer. We've seen this police officer before.
Yes, he comes in and enters, and he shoots Garrity, horrifying the other three until they realize it was yet another prop gun. The officer and Garrity wanted to show the dangers of misusing prop guns. Traumatized, the dean still denies Jeff credit for the class.
So there's a great line when they do the Annie's got a gun bit. She pulls out the gun, and Jeff's like, Annie, there's only 2 prop guns. Where did you get that? Where did you get a third? And she's like, I live in a bad neighborhood, Jeff. And she starts to talk about how, after we kissed, I thought, I waited all summer to see you, and then we got here, and I became your shameful little secret. I love you, and all I am is just, something that you're trying to bury. Well, guess what, Jeff? Annie's got a gun, and she shoots him. But later on, when they're disclosing what happened, Jeff goes, yeah, Annie here, great with the improv. She really sold it. And Annie kind of looked away, revealing that she told the truth.
She wasn't making up a story.
The other great line is after the cop shoots Garrity gets up, and the cop goes, so, Sean, got breakfast plans? And Sean goes, I do now. The 2 walk out to go have dinner together or whatever.
Well, I love it. I love also Garrity when the dean goes, Garrity, are we still on for Thanksgiving? And Garrity just says, Dean, just be honest with your father.
No, he goes, Dean, talk to your dad.
Talk to your dad.
And then Dean pulls his hoodie over. He goes, if only this hoodie was to tie, buddy. This was also the episode where they had the fort.
Yes. They build a giant blanket fort. So it starts off with Troy and Abed build a blanket fort in his dorm, and then they recruit other students to help expand it, and it just sprawls out through the entirety of the dormitory. And then they have a whole chase scene with Professor Woolley / Sean Garrity through the fort. There's this fort is so huge there are districts. That's how big this fort is.
Is that him playing the Traditsna? Because he's in the what was it? Not the Polish district, the Latvian Independence Day.
It was something, yeah, it's something goofy like that. So yeah, at the end of the episode, they see the fort gets mentioned in Greendale's newspaper, and it becomes mainstream, and then they pull their 2 strings. It's like 2 pieces of, I think they're sheets. And they pull them and they collapse the entire fort one by one. And then Leonard runs by with a TV and he says, "We've already started looting."
Fucking Leonard.
Shut up, Leonard. I talked to your son at Family Day and I know about your gambling problem.
So that leads us into mixology certification, and Jay Chandaskar, God damn it, I hate pronouncing his name, directed it. He's the guy who did Super Troopers. He's also the Indian Super Trooper in the movie.
Yes.
Just so people know who he is. He also makes an appearance in season 5, I think. No, season 6. Yeah, season 6. No. Yeah, 6. That's the one that had Frankie in it. So this episode, not that deep. I think this one was a bit more shallow, but it does have like the greatest intro ever. Because it's Troy's birthday, and they give him a cake, and it says like, happy random Tuesday that happens to coincide with the day of your expulsion. And Troy's like, yeah, guys, it's so sweet, because he's Jehovah's Witness and they don't celebrate birthdays. So he's sitting there and they're talking about ages or whatnot, and she's like, and Annie pulls up like a fun facts card and he goes, so fun fact. Troy and I are both like snakes or whatever on the Chinese calendar, and Troy's like, no, I'm a rat or whatever, and he's like, I know that because it's my favorite ant or something, and she's like, no, if that was the case, you would have been born 1 year before me, and Troy goes, well, everyone's 10 twice, right? Everyone has to repeat 4th grade, and everyone starts looking at him and goes, because 4th grade's really hard for everyone. And then Troy realizes, and he just looks down and he goes, Mom, how many lives have I been living? And it's revealed that Troy's not 20, he's 21, which just the dumbest way to get there, but I love it. So they decide to go to a party or go to a bar for Troy's first drink. And they're setting up like, hey, let's go to the Red Door, let's go to L Street. It's the same fucking bar. Who cares? Turns out Shirley used to be a pretty big partier back in the day, so she's got issues with that. Pierce is having some issues with his leg still and can't get into the bar literally. Annie's having issues with who she is as a person, so she's having an identity crisis. Abed gets picked up by a gay dude who's talking to him about Stargate, and then what was the other one? Farscape.
Farscape, yeah.
So eventually Abed gets a drink thrown in his face, and it's just a really bad night, and Troy drives everyone home because everyone's drunk. And it's kind of one of those things where Troy kind of realizes that he can now take control of situations when they need to. And the episode really only has like a poignant moment at the end when Troy's like, driving Jeff's car, and Jeff kind of just smiles at him drunkenly from the back seat, and he's like, Troy, you're a man now. And Troy just smiles, this big goofy ass smile, because that's really all he wanted, was to get that acknowledgement. But there was a great scene where where Britta and Jeff are making out in front of Abed. So when Troy gets in the car to take them home, Abed goes, Troy and Jeff and Britta were making out, and they're like, oh, why would you tell him? And Troy goes, Abed, don't be a tattletale. And the best line, though, in that entire group is like when they're yelling at Abed, and Abed's like, why would you do it in front of me then? Because Abed's got a fucking point. So there's that one. That leads us into Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas, which is a stop-motion claymation animation episode surrounding Abed dealing with a crisis of Christmas. His mother's not coming, and he's having a psychological break. But it does give us the greatest Christmas gimmick of all time in the Christmas Pterodactyl.
The Christmas Pterodactyl.
So
good.
Basically, Abed has a mental break, goes dancing and singing in the parking lot of Greendale campus, and gets tasered. Instead of throwing him out, Dean says if you go through therapy with Duncan, Jeff's old friend, you won't be kicked out of school. So the group goes to help him, and they're in the study room, and they're imagining the entire thing while they're sitting there. But one by one, each of the study group ends up getting kicked out because they do something that upsets Abed, until the point where it's down to Pierce, Annie, and Troy, and Duncan. Duncan ends up leaving after Abed goes full stone cold, hardcore, your daddy didn't love you on Duncan. So Duncan takes off crying. Abed's under the impression that he's looking for the meaning of Christmas, so Annie and Troy continue to, quote-unquote, go with him on that journey. And eventually Duncan comes back and tells Abed, like, I found the reason why you broke. Your mother's not coming. She's got a new family. She doesn't love you anymore. And that's when Troy and Annie kind of like, dude, you are the worst ever. And they start to actually physically assault Duncan. And there's a great line, because in the episode, they're on a train, because it's claymation. But Troy teleports behind Duncan and jumps on him, and Duncan's line is, "You're actually grabbing me in real life, you delinquent." And it was just one of those kind of moments where like the facade started to break, and it was like a really cool little line, and it ends up leaving with just Abed on his own until Pierce comes back, and Pierce reveals to Abed that he's lonely. And that's why he doesn't want to go home. So Abed and Pierce end up going to the North Pole, quote unquote, to find the meaning of happiness, quote unquote, which is the first season of Lost, quote unquote. And I love that they took a dig at Lost, because they're like, why is it lost? Why is the first season lost? And Abed goes, because the meaning of Christmas is underwhelming. Duncan pops back up, starts to insult Abed. Abed kind of freezes up, and Pierce is like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, leave the kid alone. And again, it's Pierce kind of showing that he's not a bad dude. He's just really prickly. And then the rest of the gang show up and starts... They physically throw shit at Duncan, but in the show, they're like shooting shit at him because, again, stop motion.
Yeah.
And they're singing along.
Guns, and they have nunchucks.
It's remarkably just stupid. But, Abed comes out of it, and they end up, and that's the episode. If you're on Twitch, the photo that we're using is from that episode, and in its finale, they end up going to Abed's room to watch Christmas movies to close out the episode. And it's really sweet. Like there's, during the Britabot song and the final number, like I kind of get choked up because like it's genuinely heartwarming because they really do focus on characteristics of the group in this episode, and they do it in a tongue-in-cheek way. Like Jeff's animus, if you will, gets destroyed by humbugs because he's too snarky. But in actuality, what they're saying is Jeff's so snarky he can't help his own friend. So like it's pretty deep on that level. It's one of my favorite episodes, not just because it's a holiday episode, and I'm a sucker for holiday episodes. Any kid growing up in the 90s will tell you that Halloween and Christmas episodes were always the best episodes of any sitcom. So I was definitely invested in this one. This one is definitely one of my favorites.
It's really, really good. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It's just the mix of like an actual message compared to like, because here's the thing with a lot of sitcoms and a lot of comedy shows is that if they want to, most of the time if they want to give you like an actual message and they want you to feel something for these characters and like get emotional, they kind of have to drive themselves away from the comedy. Mm-hmm. And kind of leave that to the wayside. But I don't feel like Community has to do that. It's able to be poignant and funny at the same time. So it was a really good episode.
One of their strongest.
Yeah.
Then the next one is the episode where we find out about Shirley's pregnancy and that it might be Andre or Chang. And there's a setup where they're looking for a new study group member, and it's either Chang or Rich. But the best part is Britta wants to bring her friend into the conversation, and everyone's like, "Oh, no one likes him, Britta. He's the worst." And she's like, "He's a foreign exchange student. You just don't understand his humor." It's just Britta being the worst. So that episode ends with everyone kind of having a big powwow, and Andre kind of being upset that Shirley slept with Chang, even though they weren't together when she did. And Jeff goes out to talk to him. And he's like, listen, Chang's, he's not that bad. And Shirley, and Andre's like, you don't got to speech me. I'm not mad at Shirley. Yeah. I'm mad at myself for not being there. And he's like, being a dad's hard. And if it's Chang's, it's Chang's. If it's mine, it's mine. But I'm going to raise that kid regardless. Because that's what you do when you're a man. And like, it was like a really kind of nice kind of sentiment that the character's not going to be like, But then he says something, I don't even remember what he says, but it's just like, like when you're with the one that you love or when you find someone that makes you want to be a better person, you just strive to, be with them. And that's what Shirley makes you want to do. And then Andre goes in, they reconcile and all that. But then Jeff runs out after the speech from Andre, sprints in the rain across what's supposed to be Greendale, but it's actually just the goddamn California Warner Brothers backlot.
Yeah.
Which I love. And he runs to an apartment. He knocks on the door, and he opens it, and he starts confessing himself. Like, ever since I met you, you've made me want to be a better person. Everything about you makes me, happy, and I constantly find myself, without the right words to say when I'm around you. And throughout the episode, Annie and Jeff are picking on each other essentially because Annie's into Rich from pottery class, and Jeff is into Annie. But Annie's also into Jeff, but Jeff keeps giving her the cold shoulder, so she's trying to move on, and Jeff doesn't want her to. So there's a lot of back and forth. So when Jeff runs to the apartment, we're all expecting Annie to be on the other end of the door, and then all of a sudden, it's fucking Rich from pottery class.
It's Rich from pottery class. He tells Rich, he explains his desire to have Rich's power of being perfect so that he can abuse it.
Right. He says to Rich, like, you're perfect, and I'm not. And I want to learn how to be, so I can use that to my advantage. And Rich is like, I don't know, Jeff. And Jeff says something like, and Rich, I know you're going to help me, because if you don't, that makes you a bad person. And Rich just smiles and goes, get in here, Jeff.
Yeah,
I'm making kettle corn.
He says that he...
oh, no, you got me there, buddy.
Yeah, I believe Jeff says something along the lines of he can't fake being good just to get away with bad things.
Right.
Or something like that. Or no, Rich says you can't just fake being good to just get away with bad things. And Jeff says, I know, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to try. And he says, also, if you don't help me, that means that you're a bad person. And it says, come on in, bud. Well, he invites him in.
Rich smiles and goes, you got me there, buddy. Come on in.
Yeah. And he says, and Jeff goes, God, it smells delicious in here. And he goes, I'm baking muffin tops. And then the end of the show is Troy and Abed in the morning, where Rich is there showing them how to make kettle corn. And Jeff shows up and he goes, "You know this isn't a real TV show, right?" And he goes, "There are no cameras." He goes, "I know. It just seemed like a fun way to spend my morning."
No, Rich goes, it seems like a fun way to start your day.
It seems like a fun way to start your day.
And again, Troy and Abed are just in their nines, and behind them are like 20 people with signs saying, "We love you, Troy and Abed." And like you got Troy and Abed in the morning. Like it's the dumbest recurring bit, and it's just I love it.
It's so good. Oh man.
So celebrity pharmacology. The only thing you need to know about it is Annie lives above Dildopolis and takes money from Pierce, so Pierce abuses the situation until the end. Oh, and also Jeff gets a kid to send him nudes.
And moving on. Cool.
Turns out it was Britta's nephew, and Britta's nephew's into some weird shit, man.
Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. You are gonna have to take the lead on this one because I don't remember this.
Fat Neil's considering committing suicide because people keep calling him Fat Neil. It's a problem apparently. Jeff doesn't want the kid to die, so he starts taking an interest in him, and they start bonding over Dungeons and Dragons, even though Jeff doesn't give a fuck about Dungeons and Dragons. And eventually, Fat Neil gives Jeff all of his Dungeons and Dragons books, and in which he starts to bring in all of the other members of the study group, sans Pierce. So they treat this like an episode of the old Dungeons and Dragons cartoon where they introduce all the characters like Jeff the Liar. There's Neil, the stout of heart and big of bone. There's Troy, the obtuse. There's Britta. I forget what she was. But like they go through and they give them all like knightly names. But the episode literally just takes place in the study room. They're all around the table, and they're playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons until Pierce shows up and becomes the villain. Best part, Chang is there. In blackface, technically not blackface.
No.
Technically not blackface. He's painted black, and he has a silver whitish wig on, and he's a dark elf. And the best part is,
any better.
Shirley goes, "Are we going to just ignore that hate crime?" Pierce calls him Al Jolson, and at a certain point, Jeff just goes, "What? Are you going to wear armor too?" And Chang goes, "What am I, a nerd?" They end up helping Fat Neil because they all start starting to pity Pierce because of his very aggressive behavior as of late, and they're not Pierce and the study group are on very uncomfortable terms, which I guess is the overall arc of this season is the issues between Pierce and the study group. So there's that as well. We move on to early 21st century romanticism. This is just the best. Britta befriends a female student who she thinks is gay.
Yes.
Troy and Abed ask the same woman out to the Valentine's Day dance at the same time while having a briefcase full of tacos. It is the most adorable thing that's ever happened to her. And Jeff is at his apartment dealing with a unwanted visitor in Chang, and then eventually a party that he did not want. Yes. So it becomes a whole thing. Any thoughts on 21st century romanticism? Because I need to get my computer battery.
Yeah, so basically, I think the start of this episode starts with like a big fight between Jeff and the study group because they want to have an intervention for Pierce's pill usage, but he disagrees, so they have this huge fight. Duncan invites himself over so they can watch the Liverpool game, and then Chang shows up uninvited, lets himself in. Duncan lets him in, and then Chang throws this huge party. Then basically, I'll just go ahead and run down the rest of that plot line. Duncan lets him in. Chang invites more people, throws a big party. Chang had an ulterior motive for starting a party to move in indefinitely. He goes to kick Chang out, but then Duncan encourages Jeff to open up and appreciate those around him. Then Jeff lets Chang move in with him for a while. the librarian that they both ask out to the Valentine's dance goes with them. She ends up choosing Troy. Troy asks her why she didn't choose Abed. She calls Abed weird. He comes upset. Then he breaks it off with her and then returns to make up with Abed.
Well, I wouldn't
And
say
then, of course,
make up with. He just hugs Abed
yes.
as she
And
walks
then,
by, looking at them strangely. And Troy's exact words is, "Ignore her."
yeah. So Britta and Paige go to the Valentine's Day dance together. They make out, awkwardly make out at the dance. They both realize that they're both straight girls who thought the other was a lesbian, and they stop being friends with each other. So at the end of the episode, Jeff sends a big group text apologizing for his earlier argument, telling them that he loves them all. He also encourages Pierce to let others into his life. But then we get the final shot of the episode where Pierce overdosed on his pills on a bench in a park.
Did you mention what the argument was?
Yes, I as you were going to get your computer battery, I said that it was because Pierce's reckless pill usage. Annie wanted to stage an intervention, and Jeff disagreed.
No, wasn't this over the fucking bare naked ladies?
So they do reference that the bare naked ladies do get brought up during this fight, but I know that at some point Jeff uses the phrase "the bare naked ladies" was just an allegory for something else.
Well, it was an allegory for them as a group, but they're debating about intervening with Pierce's pills, but he's like he as he's dismissing the idea, he slams the bare naked ladies, and everyone gets offended, and they start getting mad at him, and I think Annie calls him like a self-righteous jag. And Troy goes, "How many Canadian pop music awards do you have, Jeff?" And Jeff stands up and goes, "You want to fight? This is a fight. We are fighting." And then
we are fighting, and storms out of the room.
It's the dumbest shit. It's like my favorite non sequitur in the entire goddamn show.
It really is good. Yeah, I forgot about the whole bare naked ladies thing. I go, how dare you talk about BNL like that? BNL? We're calling them BNL? You think that they're that good that they deserve to have their name shortened to BNL? Bare naked ladies. It's such a good, but yes, that was a part of the argument, but that is not what the argument was about.
It was the reason why they got into an argument. That's all I care about. It was what took it from 3 to 10, so. We then get the intermediate documentary filmmaking where Pierce is pretending that he's dying from the addiction to fuck with the group. He gives them all little presents. Britta
He bequeaths them.
Yes. I forget what he bequeaths Britta. Oh, he bequeaths her a check.
A blank check.
I don't think it was blank. I think it was like $10,000.
The payee line was blank.
Yeah, to whom it was issued to was blank. And Pierce even says you can use it for yourself, or you can give it to a charity of your choice, knowing that Britta is constantly trying to showcase just how progressive she is. He gives Shirley. The hell did he give Shirley?
He gives Shirley the CD containing the recording of the group talking behind her back.
That's right. Then he gives Troy. I shouldn't say gives Troy. He sets up a meeting between Troy and LeVar Burton because he knows that LeVar Burton is Troy's favorite actor. But Troy because it's basically shot like an episode of The Office. Troy starts freaking out and goes, Pierce knows that I never wanted to meet LeVar. I only wanted an autograph because, I don't want to meet my heroes and to be disappointed.
No. He doesn't think that LeVar is going to disappoint him. He thinks he is going to disappoint LeVar.
True. Very true.
Yes, he only wanted a picture of LeVar, and he says, because you can't disappoint a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he gives anything to Abed because Abed's like, he knows what's going on, so he doesn't give a fuck. He gives Jeff his father, apparently, because Jeff, has been on the outside with his father for years, and Pierce's like, I found your dad. He's on his way here. You can either go confront him or he'll leave. It's up to you. And these are all little things designed to fuck with people. Except for Annie's. He gives Annie's a princess crown, and he goes, "Oh, Annie's my favorite. I just thought you'd enjoy it." But Annie is now obsessing over it because everyone else's gifts is definitely a monkey paw, and she's thinking this is designed to fuck with me too. So it was kind of a sweet little thing, and I like that comes back in season 5.
Yeah.
That episode in season 5, oh my God, makes me cry every time. Holy, like that last 5 minutes with Walter Goggins, oh my God, gets me every fucking time. So Pierce picks his pill habit and he gets out of the hospital and
So yeah, the tiara thing. He says that she's his favorite. She says, "You've made me realize the dangers of being too tough on myself, which causes pain to the people around me." She goes, "Thank you for this very valuable lesson," and returns the tiara. And then she walks out of the hospital room, and Pierce looks dead in the camera, and he goes, "She actually is just my favorite." Yeah, and then Jeff almost beats the shit out of Pierce.
Because it's revealed that Pierce is pretending to be Jeff's dad in a limo.
Yeah, in a town car. And then Pierce has an outburst where he chastises the group for not taking him seriously and neglecting him throughout the year. And then Jeff goes, "This whole thing has made your relationship with us worse."
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a pretty good episode.
So then we go into Intro to Political Science.
Yes. Oh my God, this is the Biden episode.
So here's basically the gist of it. They need to have a student body president because the then elect, or I shouldn't say elect because you're not elected as a vice president technically. The appointed then Vice President Joe Biden is coming to Greendale to visit. So one of our favorite Scrubs characters, or the actress who played her, is playing a Secret Service agent who's investigating the community college. Something Abed has known for weeks. And that's why when Dean's like, the vice president's coming here, Abed goes, is that why there's been is that why there's been, what was it, undercover police or something like that here for the last few weeks?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, Abed,
like
you and your imagination. And then like the camera lingers on like a janitor and he's like, we've been made.
It's one of the, but yes, it does introduce Special Agent Robin Vollers. I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
Sounds right. It's Eliza Coupe.
Eliza Coupe, who, for those of you who don't know, played. I can't ever remember her real name.
Sam?
I know it's Joe.
Joe. That's what it was. Joe.
That's not her real name.
It's not?
Denise.
Oh, Denise
Mahoney.
Oh, that's right, because they called her Joe.
She gets called Joe by JD because he reminds her of Joe from
Facts of Life.
Facts of Life, yeah.
So there's only 3 things to note about this episode. 1, Troy and Abed start doing a political style news show where they're tracking the election. 4 things. Abed's in love, or at least has emotions for the Secret Service agent played by Eliza Coupe.
Because she is basically the female version of him.
Yes. Annie and Jeff are the 2 leading candidates to win the election, but only because Jeff is trying to prove to Annie how silly this is, and Annie's trying to do it because she wants to have another thing on her resume. Because of that, Annie shows the world that Jeff had applied to the real world.
Oh yeah, he sang Faith by
George Michael.
God, George Michael, thank you.
But it's not Faith, it's a parody of it. Because he's singing a MTV real world version of it.
You gotta have Jeff.
The other thing to take away from this episode is that Pierce is now in a feud with Vicky.
Oh yeah, Pierce is in a feud with Vicky. Who this is what, like her first appearance?
First or second? She's in the anthropology class.
Oh, yes.
But this is her first big role in the series.
Yeah, there's like an episode in the anthropology class where Fat Neil and Vicky are talking to each other.
Yeah, that's later on in the season, though. But Vicky
that's right, yeah.
Vicky has been seen, though. But so Jeff and Annie are reconciling after Annie embarrasses Jeff. And Pierce rolls up and says something like... when we strike outwards, we're only trying to kill parts of our soul, or something like that. And Jeff's like, wow, Pierce, that's really poignant and poetic. And Pierce nods, turns around, and you see a pencil sticking out of his cheek. And he's like, Vicky loaned me her pencil finally. And they're like, Pierce, go to the nurse. And Pierce goes, yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. But also, the final two The final two
It's
candidates
Leonard.
left is Leonard and Magnitude. We didn't talk about Magnitude. Magnitude shows up in the party episode.
Yes. He's a
and
high school senior taking college courses.
Yes, and his name is Magnitude, but it's a combination of his first and last name. His full name is Magnetic Attitude.
And he has a slogan. What's that slogan?
Pop, pop.
So the final debate is Magnitude going pop, pop, and Leonard going.
He's blowing a raspberry.
That's it. So the election results come in, and South Park won.
South Park won with a staggering 7 out of 11 votes.
And it's revealed that Abed and Troy both voted for South Park without even talking to each other. Oh, and this is also the episode where Troy says, "I'm Troy Butt Soup Barnes." What?
Troy
That's
Butt
my
Soup
name.
Barnes. But yeah, with the whole Secret Service thing, the Secret Service does end up leaving because they don't find enough of a threat, even though Abed had made them. So she tells them this: "You're just not of a threat, enough of a threat for us to be able to stay." So at the end of their broadcast, Abed closes by teaching you how to make homemade napalm.
Do you know that you can make homemade napalm with a little bit of home fertilizer?
And Troy just goes, "What? Why would you say that?" And so Volage gets a phone call saying that Greendale's at elevated threat level, and it forces Biden to cancel his visit and go straight on to City College. And then she returns to Greendale under the pretense of investigating the threat, but she's out in her van watching Kick Puncher while Abed watches it with his TV facing the window.
And
he says,
it's a
"Next
little date.
time." What?
It's a little date.
Yeah, and he says, he leans into his lamp and he says, "Next time you're here, maybe you can watch me have dinner."
Honk, 1 for no, 2 for yes. Honk,
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 honk.
and then he just kind of does a little fist bump.
He gives the lamp a little fist bump and he does his signature Abed. Cool.
So
Shut off the lamp.
custody of law in Eastern European diplomacy. We don't need to go too hard into this one.
Was this the
Shirley tries to get Jeff to sign over any potential Chang rights to the baby, and Chang ends up bringing 2 young black children back to Jeff's apartment under the pretense thinking that they were Shirley's kids. They weren't. Jeff and Chang eventually get arrested for kidnapping because duh. But Jeff, convinces Shirley not to go through with her plan. Jeff gets released, and Chang tries to commit a prison break. The other part is we find out about Luca. Luca has a dark past. He fought in Serbia, I think. And
he was from the Balkans.
The Balkans. And, I think it's Serbia because that's where a lot of the genocide was. And Britta is attracted to damaged dudes, so when she finds out that Luca, who's handsome, was also a soldier during the genocide, she thinks that he was a freedom fighter. So when she's talking to him, he's like, "I miss it so much." And she's like, "Defending your loved ones in your country?" And he's like, "Yes." And the murder. Loved killing all of the dirty infidels, or whatever he said. Yeah, and she realized that he's basically a goddamn war criminal. And the pretense was that Abed and Troy don't want her to date Luca because she always ruins guys they like for her because she talks about them and their sexual proclivities. So they don't want her to date Luca because she'll ruin Luca for her. But it's real at the end of the episode when they find out about Luca. She's like, "I didn't want to tell you guys because I didn't want you guys to hate me." And she's like, "There's a difference between Jeff liking nipple play and being a war criminal." So it's basically the entire episode. There's like a Kick Puncher DVD stealing episode moment in the episode. It's just it's kind of like a very whimsical episode. It's not really that pertinent, but it does kind of have some nice little moments in it. Critical Film Studies is basically a wasted episode. It was a Pulp Fiction parody where Abed tries to show Jeff that he's matured. He went to do a spot in Cougar Town. It changed him, but it actually didn't do anything. The entire episode was for naught.
It's one big Pulp Fiction and My Dinner with Andre spoof.
Yeah, but it doesn't advance anything in the story either. So
yeah.
Neither does competitive wine tasting, which is why I think this episode really just doesn't really do anything for me. Pierce ends up wanting to marry a woman named Wu Mei, who is the Chinese moist talent empress. So she's looking to buy out or merge with Pierce's company, but Pierce didn't know that at first, and Pierce gets mad at Jeff for trying to help out, but eventually Jeff gets them together, and he's like, you're both horrible people. You belong together, and that's pretty much it. Oh, yeah. This is also the episode where Troy makes up getting touched in his butt by his uncle because he doesn't have any pain, and it's another Sean Garrity episode, and I think right? Yeah.
Yes.
And he goes, Troy, not having pain is in fact pain.
Is in fact pain.
Also, Abed takes the Who's the Boss independent study course with Stephen Tobolowsky as the teacher, and he's like, Angela's the boss, and the professor's like, Mr. Nadir, I've been studying Who's the Boss the last 30 years. There is no clear-cut answer. But then Abed shows up to class the next day and shows him that there's a clear-cut answer, destroying everything about about Sheffield's, Stephen Tobolowsky's character's entire life's work. And he opens up, after Abed in the class gets dismissed, he opens up a drawer, and there's a pistol there. His entire world just got destroyed by Abed. So he reaches in, past the pistol, and pulls out another book. What was it? It was...
I don't remember.
Was it the Cosby
it was another...
Kids?
I could not tell you.
I think it was like Rerun or something like that. So like instead of like him killing himself, which is what they were building up to at the end, they ended up just having him change his focus of studies. It's definitely a wonky ass episode. So if you ever want to check it out, it's definitely worth your time.
I mean, let me put it to you this way: the stuff dealing with Professor Sean Garrity is great. I think he's a great character in this show.
I think this is his last appearance too.
I think it is, and I also believe that is unfortunate.
Yes.
Because God, he's funny.
So then we get the Paradigm of Human Memory, which is a clip episode, but not a real clip episode. So they take chunks of fictitious episodes that never were technically made, and they start doing callbacks to them. There's a St. Patrick's Day river rafting episode. They went to a Wild West homestead. They investigated a haunted house. At one point, they were kidnapped by the cartel. And they're just calling back to all these moments that never happened. But then they find out about Jeff and Britta's year-long relationship, which starts to tear the group apart. And then we find out about Troy's monkey's back, and they find out about all the stuff that's been kind of accumulating over the years, or over the year and a half. We also see, wasn't this the episode where Chang pops up and rubs baby oil all over himself while wearing a Speedo?
So yes. So they see, that's like the beginning of the episode. They see Annie's boobs comes in and he steals something, and then Chang is covered in baby oil and in a Speedo. He dives headfirst into the air conditioning.
Just slicks all the way through. And they start finding things that remind them of these episodes or moments in the season that we never saw. Like Troy ends up popping his raft to make them go faster, but when they get to the shore, because it doesn't work, he goes, I don't care what any of you tell me. I've seen enough cartoons to know that when you pop something like this, you go faster.
He literally says, I've seen enough cartoons to know that popping up the back of a raft makes you go faster.
But the best part was Jeff does a monologue about the Britta relationship and how that they've become too strong as a group to let something like that affect them. And as he starts to monologue, they start to jump to all the fictitious episodes we never saw, where he's he's talking about ghosts, and then he's like speaking in partial Spanish to not get Pierce to get killed, because of course Pierce would piss off the cartel. And then he's on a train or as a conductor. And then there's a part where he's in a mental institution with the rest of the group, and he's just wriggling around. And he's like, Harrison Ford doesn't want you to know that he's conducting experiments on your brain. It's all just nonsense and gibberish, but it all makes up to be a very fun little episode that that, did a lot. And it also called back to several episodes we did see, like in the Christmas episode, there's a scene right before the commercial break where Britta and Jeff and Duncan are trying to get Abed to undergo therapy. And when Abed leaves, Jeff says something like, "Oh, this is going to go so well." And then Britta looks at him and goes, "What?" And then you cut to commercial. But in this episode, you see that scene play out, and he goes, "What? You want to have sex?"
Yeah.
So they add little notes to kind of flesh out the episode.
Yeah. And it's great because the final thing is this is just the universe's way of molding us into some kind of super group. So they all make up, and they agree that Jeff and Britta no longer have to keep their sexual relationship a secret, and they decide immediately that they aren't interested in each other anymore.
Yeah, it was just the thrill of keeping it a secret that kept them going.
Yeah.
So then we get applied anthropology and culinary arts. This is the episode where they take their final anthropology exam, which is basically just Duncan getting drunk and them yelling at things. Oh, by the by, when Duncan takes over the class at the start of the season, because apparently we completely forgot to gloss that over when Betty White's character attacks Jeff, she gets fired, and Duncan takes over. The first episode, Duncan takes over. He goes, "I don't know. Who can tell me what anthropology is?" No, seriously, I have no idea. And then a girl walks in and goes, "Is this anesthesiology 101?" And Duncan goes, he looks at the class and goes, "Give me this." "Yes, it is. Welcome."
Yeah. So basically, this is the Shirley's birth episode. Her water breaks. Saves the class from having to take their anthropology final, which was a fake final anyways. Duncan literally runs away because there's no physical final paper in front of him. She's like, "Oh, it must be back in my office. I'll be right back." And he just runs away. So then the dean has to go get his car to drive Shirley to the hospital. But there's a cultural food festival in the parking lot, and a riot breaks out because who knew all these cultures had such beef with each other?
So the dean goes, "A race riot broke out." "Excuse me, no, a race kerfuffle."
A race kerfuffle. Also, yes, the dean is being shadowed by a reporter for Dean Magazine, who is doing a piece on Dean Pelton. So, they're gonna have to deliver the baby there, and Abed says that he did it once already, which he referenced already. But Shirley refuses to let Abed see her nethers. So Abed then gets Britta to do it, and he tries to guide her. She's been advocating for a natural birth this whole time to Shirley. She goes down underneath Shirley's skirt, sees what's going on down there, and immediately runs to a trash can to throw up.
I think it was Britta, though, who ends up delivering the baby.
Yes. Jeff gives her, his rah-rah speech and psychs her up to go do it. So she goes and gives the birth. The entire time, Shirley is having Chang talk about how Chang babies are born because she needs it to keep her confidence, basically. So then Andre shows up at the final stage of the delivery. She gives birth to a boy, which is very clearly Andre's because it's not Chinese. Grateful for Chang's help, Shirley names the baby Ben. And at the end of the episode, it shows that Dean Magazine shut down after only 2 issues.
Which sets us up for a fantastic 2-part season finale. Titled,
my favorite.
A Fistful of Paintballs and For a Few Paintballs More. So now, last season, we had the paintball episode, where it was basically kind of just Mad Max, essentially.
Yeah, it was Modern Warfare was the first season paintball episode. It's very Mad Maxy, this like post-apocalyptic hellscape basically, but it's all paintball. This one is spaghetti western
slash sci-fi.
Yeah, I would say a few paintballs more is definitely like sci-fi. Like early 80s sci-fi fantasy, and a fistful of paintballs is definitely spaghetti western.
Yes.
So first off, The paintball guns in this episode are fucking sweet because they look like revolvers, and they have like they look like real bullets. The paintballs do, but the tips are colored with the paintball, the paint. And also one character, the Black Rider, has sawed-off shotgun paintball guns. This episode is crazy. Like, the look of this episode is really cool.
So let's start with the fact that everyone's dressed up in Western affair because it's the end of the quarter or end of the semester barbecue, Western barbecue, whatever. So like they all kind of have like a Western motif going, and the episode starts with them. I think it's what was her name? Megan with a QU or whatever her name is.
Kendra.
Yeah, Kendra with a QU and Jeff, and they're running and they're getting shot at. Just it opens hardcore like that. Just random ass.
No, so it opens up on the bullies from season 1, Michael Anthony Hall.
Oh, that's right.
And his gang chasing down Fat Neil. And then Annie pops out and shoots them. And then Fat Neil wants to take one of the paintball guns, but then he tries to pull the gun on her, and she ends up shooting him.
And Annie's looking fit.
Oh my God. Everything about this episode is the best. Because Annie looks fucking fantastic. Again, Allison Brie, I love you.
Does Dave Franco deserve her?
I was going to say, she's married to Dave Franco. Cole.
Cole Slaw. I can't quit cold turkey.
I'm gonna open up my own. What does he say? I forget what he wants to do, but he says he's gonna call his business Cole Cut.
Oh, he's talking about doing hair.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Damn you, Dave Franco, you handsome son of a bitch. But yes, this whole episode was started. It starts with Dean Pelton and Pistol Patty's Cowboy Creamery, the ice cream company. He basically says that last year the paintball assassin game was unsuccessful because the prize was too important. But Pistol Patty's Cowboy Creamery is giving out the prize this year, and he's going to let Pistol Patty, the ice cream cone, the ice cream company's mascot. It's a giant, for those of you who don't know, it's been explained 7 times on the Wikipedia. It's a giant ice cream cone in Western attire. Explains the prize, and the prize is $100,000 cash. And immediately cuts back to Dean Pelton, who goes, oh no.
So the episode jumps around. It starts with the paintball stuff, and every time you see one of the main cast members, it gets introduced with like a spaghetti Western style, like kind of like intro, and it'll be like Jeff Winger, Ace of Spades, or like Annie, Queen of Hearts. So like they're each getting kind of like their own little shtick, and like the way things have shaped out, Jeff's kind of doing his own thing, Annie is doing her own thing, Abed's doing her own thing, but Shirley, Britta, and Troy are doing their own thing as well as a group. So Abed, Annie, and Jeff all get introduced and join back up, and that's where we kind of see Jeff with no, it wasn't even Kendra. Like that came later. I forget who he was with in that scene. I think it was maybe was it Leonard? Oh no, it was Chang. It was Chang.
Yeah,
because he
Chang
jumps
was
over
trapped by the math club. Yeah, with Jeff.
He's with fucking Jeff, and they're shooting at Jeff and Chang, and Jeff's like, math club's gotten better since last year.
And Chang pops out and he's like, don't worry, I can handle this. And he goes, we're Asian. He's white. No. Shoot him, not me.
He goes, hey, math club. Yeah? You guys Asian? Dude, that's kind of offensive. Well, I'm Asian. I'm coming over. Yeah. And then that's when he goes, he's white, shoot him. And he's like, dude, that's so offensive. And Chang throughout the entire episode is just looking for new allegiances. Like he joins up with the cheerleaders at one point. I think he joined up with someone else, and then he eventually gets shot by the Black Rider.
Yeah, he God, when he joins up with the cheerleaders, he gets blindfolded and his hands tied in front of him.
They're going to execute him for betraying them.
He spends the rest of the episode running around blindfolded with his hands tied down. Oh man. It's really hard to narratively hit all the plot points of this episode because it jumps around so much.
Well, so basically the general gist is Annie, Abed, and Jeff regroup. Annie's pissed at Jeff over what happened with Pierce, although it's not revealed. And then eventually the three of them end up walking into a trap set up by Britta, Shirley, and Troy. And they're working for Pierce. They take them to Pierce's new hideout in the cafeteria called Fort Hawthorne.
Fort Hawthorne.
And basically he's getting people to relinquish their guns to come in, and he's getting paid with paintballs, and he's using the paintballs as currency. And it turns into this thing where Pierce then kind of sets up this almost Wild West bank robbery where like Dean Pelton's stuff, like his closet in his office still has all of last year's paintball stuff. So if we get into there, we can win this because like the numbers are declining. And as the episode progresses, we find out that the reason why like Jeff is like the ace of spades and Shirley is the queen of clubs and Troy is the jack of spades and Annie's the queen of hearts. We find out why why they're getting the cards that they are is because they were all given one red card and one black card from a deck of cards, and the six of them, needing a unanimous decision, were voting to see if Pierce would be invited back for their third year together. And it had to be unanimous. And the black cards were the ones who were voting him out. The red cards were the one voting him in. And Annie was the only one who voted to keep Pierce in, something that Pierce was unaware of. He just thought they were playing cards. So he thinks that he's again being screwed over by the study group, so he sets Jeff up. The group is moving their way towards the dean's office, but is jumped by the Black Rider. And Annie's gun goes dry, so Jeff gives her his to go after like some other random students, and Annie gets busted by the Black Rider, who catches her from behind and takes her gun, and she goes to shoot her in the foot because he's a gentleman. He's a gentleman. I'll shoot you in the foot. I don't want you to get anything on your pretty little dress. But the gun's empty, and he's like, "Oh, you're dry, sweetheart." And then Abed pops in because he's goddamn old school Clint Eastwood. There's even the scene where like when Abed pops up for the first time, he's wearing like a poncho and a hat. And like the screen goes fiery red, and like his eyes grow red, and there's like an eagle scree. It's the greatest fucking introduction ever for an episode. But they end up, finding out that the dude's a ringer, and they end up putting him down later on after the first encounter. And Jeff is super insecure because he's a real handsome dude. And Jeff's like, I got a close-up look of him. He's not that handsome. But the incident causes Annie to rethink things, and she goes to deal with Pierce. And she tells Pierce, like, Jeff gave me his gun and it was empty. You gave him blanks, which I don't know how you give someone blanks in paintball. All right, whatever. And she's like, we were voting. We weren't playing a game when you saw us that day, Pierce. We were voting to see if we'd invite you back. And I was the only holdout. And it had to be unanimous. But, I'm done being the holdout. And she goes to shoot Pierce, and Pierce is able to escape. The episode ends up coming to a giant explosive finale, though. I think it's who was it? It was Chang, I think. Was it Chang who runs into them? A group of paintball stormtroopers storm the school and start shooting kids. And it's kind of revealed that like, oh shit, there's something more going on than just this Black Rider dude. So the study group, reconvenes with the rest of the school that's still alive in the game, and decide that this got to be a setup. And so that's when we go from a fistful of paintballs to a few paintballs more, which is definitely more of a Star Wars motif, something Abed even points out.
Yeah, it's Chang does discover them when he's looking for another alliance. He gets shot by the paintball minigun, the Gatling gun that's mounted to the Pistol Patty's van. Pistol Patty jumps out with the commando team and says, "Plan B, Operation Total Invasion."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then we head on to for a few paintballs more, which is part 2 of the finale. We find out at the beginning of the episode that the game was a scheme by City College to destroy Greendale's campus. So instead of fighting each other, they realize that they have to team up to beat City College because they have to save the campus. And if they beat City College, they have to give them their $100,000 prize money.
Yeah, because it's in the rules.
Yes, because of the rules of the competition. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so Dean Spreck reveals everything to Dean Pelton because he wanted everybody to wreck the campus in order for them to win and also just leave them with a completely destroyed campus. Abed and Troy had overheard the conversation, and they convinced the surviving students to form the Rebel Alliance to defeat the Pistol Patty troopers. And that way they can win the cash reward and repair the damage already done to the school. And this immediately turns into Troy and Jeff vying over who's going to be the group leader. More of Troy steps up to the role, and Jeff immediately goes to make this speech about how he knows that he's just going to accept the role because it's going to be thrust upon him anyways, because he's a dickhead.
So they come up with two different plans.
Yes.
Troy takes them on in the school. Jeff rushes the Gatling gun in the courtyard.
So let's not forget the sacrifice that was made by Magnitude jumping on the remote control bomb.
Okay, so I was going to get there, but yes. So Dean Sprague puts in a remote control car with a paint grenade. Magnitude jumps on it as it explodes. They start to realize that there's no technical rule on how the paint gets dispersed. It just needs to be dispersed. That's where Troy's plan comes in. The other thing that should be pointed out, God damn it, so Abed takes Starburn's vest.
Yes.
Brave man. And defaults into the Han Solo role. And when Troy starts to look at him for support for his plan, Abed goes, I ain't in this for your war. I'm just here to get my pay and get out or something like that. And Troy's like, Abed, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm slacking. I'm defaulting into the slacker role before Jeff, seamlessly transitions into it. And
that's what he says. He says, I'm taking the Han Solo role before Jeff just naturally falls into it.
And this leads into him having a conversation or two with Annie, where Annie starts to fall for roguish Abed.
I love it.
So the plans go about as well as you expect in Community. Troy and Abed, Annie, and some of the other group are doing the library plan. Was it? Yeah, Shirley. And then on the other front, you have Britta, you have Jeff, Kendra with a QU, you have Leonard, and Leonard has like one of the best lines. I've been in real wars. And this is scarier.
Scarier. Every time we talk about Kendra with a QU, I just love her introductory line in season 1. Hey guys, this is Kendra. She spells it with a QU. Of course she does.
So, Jeff gives a big rallying cry before they make their last stand, and he goes, and should we fall or win this day, we will meet over at Denny's. And then Leonard goes, the one on 5th Street or the one on 10th Street? And Jeff goes, 10th Street. He goes, and Leonard goes, well, I can't go to that one. I'm banned. And then Jeff goes, then I will see you in hell, Leonard.
No, what it is he goes, is it the one on such and such street or is it the one by the highway? And he goes, we'll talk about it later. And he goes, because I'm banned from the one by the highway. And he goes, I'll see you in hell then, Leonard.
So they're doing their little charge, and Kendra's like, I'm so scared. And Jeff goes, Kendra with a QU. If we can't, if we don't make it, we'll see you on the other side at Denny's. And then he stands up and he's like, and he gets shot, and he just drops and goes, I'm out. And Britta goes, see you at Denny's? And Jeff just snaps and he goes, Denny's is for winners.
Denny's is for winners.
So basically what ends up happening is Britta becomes the last one standing on the other front inside the library. There's only 4 left. It's the core 4 of the group that's in there, and their plan is to release paint through the sprinklers.
Yes.
God, that's gonna be messy. And but they have to activate it through the fire alarm. That means Troy has to draw their fire, and I think Shirley was supposed to be the one who pulls it, and then Annie and Abed would cover. So like they're all getting ready for their last stands, and Troy, as he's drawing fire, turns around in the corner and he just sees a hallway full of stormtroopers, and he just goes, "What was it? I had a dream it would end this way."
I had a dream it would end this way.
And he just gets fucking slaughtered by all these paintballs. Shirley believes that everyone else is done, so she pulls the handle and runs out. Abed and Annie decide to make out as they get paint covered. Like that was one that didn't make any sense. They could have ran out too, but whatever. So
weren't they like stuck in a dead end hallway or something like that?
I think, but like there's a door there. We literally have like that's where Jeff and Slater got caught making out. Like we know there's a door there.
Yeah, also, they were standing right next to a huge row of windows that led to the outside. There's already been so much campus damage at this point. Just break a window.
Right. So Shirley thinks she's the last one, and Britta thinks she's the last one, and Britta's like, pinned down by the gun. Then all of a sudden, Shirley rolls up in a cart, and she's like, let's go win this game. And they zip around, they start taking out the rest of the stormtroopers, and then they hit the gunner, and everyone's like, yeah! And then two more stormtroopers pop out when they think they've won, and they kill they get both Shirley and Britta, and they're like, "Oh, we lost." And everyone's like all defeated, and then like the two stormtroopers are joined by the third, and he's like, "Yeah, high five!" And the third stormtrooper shoots them both, and it's revealed to be Pierce, and he's the last one. He goes, "Yeah, I win."
My favorite part about that is he goes, "Yeah, high five," and the two other stormtroopers go, "Who are you?" And then he shoots them immediately, and takes off his mask.
And he's like, "Your mother's uncle," or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a gag in this episode that they keep revisiting throughout the series. It's Pierce's fake heart attack. So like he gets caught by two stormtroopers, and he starts clutching his chest, and he's like, and they're like, "Oh my god, is he having a heart attack?" And he just drops. So they investigate.
Buddy, are you okay? He does that with the Black Rider in the Fistful of Paintballs.
That's right.
No, guys, I don't think he's playing. No, he's definitely faking it.
They're just all like, "No, he's fine."
The Black Rider walks up to him and goes, "Buddy, you want me to call you an ambulance?" And he shoots him straight in the chest with a gun.
So the episode ends with the study group celebrating and asking Pierce what he wants to do for season 3, and Pierce is like, "I'm done with whatever this is."
Yeah, he gives his whole spiel. He expects people to abandon him, so he deliberately picks at them until they leave. And he says that the study group is his first community he's ever truly believed wanted him, and in turn made him want to stay with him. But he shows that he said the recent events shows that it isn't the case, and he's going to do to them what everyone else in life has done to him and walk away. He loves Greendale and will remain there, but he's done with whatever this is. Yeah. The group thinks he's acting out again, but he doesn't return, and they look on in shock. Because they're like, because Jeff does the thing where he's like, and he'll be back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and then he doesn't walk back in.
So the last part of the season, Abed is talking to the janitor from season 1.
Yeah. Is it Jerry? Jerry the janitor?
Yeah, Jerry the janitor. And the school is fucking trashed. So Abed's explaining to him what went down, and Jerry's really not. He's having a very bad day. And he's just placating Abed at this point. And he's like, and Abed says, so have you seen the library yet? And Jerry goes, making my way there. So Abed's drinking his little drink, and he goes, so you got any plans for the summer? And Jerry shakes his head and goes, nah. He's very angry at this point.
He's furious.
Oh, he is. Abed's drinking his drink and finishes it and starts looking around for a trash can. Jerry goes, just put it anywhere.
Put it anywhere.
So he puts it down and he walks away, and that's how the season ends. And it's like one of the best fucking ways to end the goddamn season, in my opinion.
Really good.
It's strong stuff. So let's do real quickly our 5 favorite episodes. Swish, do you want to go first or should I?
I can go first.
Okay.
So my 5 favorite episodes for this season.
You can count the paintball episodes as 1 if that helps.
Yes. trying to remember exactly which ones. I got to reread them all. Okay, so I know for a fact that Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas will be on there. Um, so in no particular order, I'm just going to name off my 5 favorites. This isn't going to be from top to bottom. This is just as I read them. Paintball episodes, Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas, Conspiracy Theories and Interior Design, Epidemiology, and where's the last one that I wanted? Oh, early 21st century romanticism are my 5 favorites. I could probably put them in order, but it doesn't really matter. They're all equally good.
Okay, I was texting someone. I wasn't paying attention.
Okay, I will tell them again for your sake, because I'm sure we'll share some.
Probably.
Epidemiology.
Okay.
These are in no particular order, by the way.
Okay.
Epidemiology, Conspiracy Theories and Interior Design.
Yup.
Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas.
Yup.
Early 21st century romanticism. And the paintball episodes.
Okay, so that's 4 of the 5 of mine. So that's fucking stellar. Good job, Dick. So I'll go with an extra 4 then. Just to be shits and giggles. I'm gonna go with The Psychology of Letting Go.
Yep.
I will also go with Accounting for Lawyers.
Good episode.
Just Annie jumping on a dude's back to chloroform is all I need.
Them waking up. We all must have got chloroform.
Fucking Troy, man.
So stupid.
I guess I'll go with cooperative calligraphy. Because we completely glossed over the fact that they literally cut open Pierce's casts and they find out that he's been scratching his legs with like fucking beef jerky and remotes.
Pierce, have you been scratching your legs with Slim Jim?
Have we not moved past judgment at this point? That's 2 Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And we'll go with... I'm going to go with competitive wine tasting, actually. Just because of the whole dynamic with Abed and the professor. Just destroying him about who's the boss.
Who's the boss, yes. He's great.
And Paradigms of Human Memory, too. So that's 5.
Paradigms of Human Memory was also a really good episode.
Again,
there are only a few episodes, and by that I mean like mixology certification is okay, and then celebrity pharmacology just sucks outright. So like 22 out of 24 is a good ratio, I would say.
Is it 22 out of 24?
Well, if you I'm saying take off celebrity pharmacology and mixology certification. The rest of the episodes are actually all pretty good. Is there one that... I mean, basic rocket science is fun, just because the goofy KFC thing. Psychology of Letting Go is ridiculous with Pierce's mom. Oh, I'm sorry. 21 out of 24. Fuck Messianic Myths and Ancient Peoples. I hated that episode.
Okay, so Messianic Myths and Ancient Peoples. That's the Abed.
Yes.
So that's one. What else?
I'd said I didn't like mixology certification. That one's not bad. It's just not interesting.
Yeah, it definitely. It's more like just them realizing that they're all in dark places. It's just
yeah.
Okay.
Celebrity pharmacology is just bad.
That's terrible.
Outright. Aerodynamics of gender is pretty good. Asian population studies is good. It's really good. Intermediate documentary filmmaking is really good. Intro to political science is good because of Abed's relationship with Eliza Coupe. Custody law and custody law and Eastern European democracy I really didn't care for. critical film study. You didn't like critical film studies. I thought it was goofy just because it was one whole big Pulp Fiction and My Dinner with Andre spoof, but you could take that off there as well. Competitive wine tasting was funny. It just didn't do it again. Didn't do anything to progress the story.
It had one really good arc, in my opinion, and I think you agree, but we have different opinions on the arc. You like the Britta and Troy part. I like the Abed, who's the boss part. Neither of us seem to care about the Pierce and Jeff Wu Mei part.
Who gives a fuck about Pierce and Jeff competing over a hot, busty Asian woman? Paradigms of
the best part about that episode is she's super racist, and I think she even calls Pierce round eyes at one point.
She does. Yeah. Yeah, it's also kind of fucked up because Michelle Krusik is actually Taiwanese.
Yeah.
So
it is what it is.
Paradigms of Human Memory is great. Applied Anthropology in the Culinary Arts is great episode.
You know
and the two paintball episodes are great.
You know who Michelle Krusik is, right?
I'm trying to remember what I know her from.
I'll give you a hint. She once wrote someone a Dear John letter meant for a man named John.
You're not helping me.
Dave.
I got nothing, dude.
She's in Titus?
My God.
She's Nancy? This
oh,
is Nancy.
My God, yeah.
She's like Aaron.
Sorry.
Only Asian.
Look, man, I had to compartmentalize all of my Titus stuff because we ended up not doing a Titus podcast.
Yet.
So everything of Titus has been compartmentalized into one part of my brain to be accessed later. So that's why I was like, I don't remember what the fuck I'm supposed to be remembering. Yeah, now it's all boomerang. It's all coming back to you.
I found a Dear John letter in your sock drawer, in your panty drawer. Yeah, a Dear John letter for a man named John. Dave. Because I wrote it for my ex-boyfriend whose name was John. Dave.
And
why were you in my panty drawer? Well, you know. And they start giggling. I don't want to know. Why are they both that into that idea? That's so weird.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it. Season 3 next week.
Yep. Before we get into the rundown real quick, let me just say something here. Rest in peace. Well, I shouldn't say rest in peace because Ruth Bader Ginsburg was not Christian. She was a Jewish woman. She passed away today, and hopefully wherever she... What?
Rest peacefully?
Rest peacefully is great. Yes, that's actually much more respectful to her religion. Rest peacefully, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was a very powerful and influential woman who broke down many boundaries and borders for women, especially in law. And also another thing, this does has to do with her passing, but also just because we're coming up, we're halfway through September. A very important election is coming up in November, and no matter who you vote for, I'm encouraging you to go out and register to vote. It is not too late. If you are not registered, please register. And if you are registered to vote, please exercise your right to vote. It is a part of our right and one of the freedoms that we have as a democratic nation. Again, whoever you decide to vote for is up to you, but please don't just be one of the people who complains about everything and sits at home and doesn't actually do anything to participate in change. So yes, November 3rd, please go out and vote. Please register to vote.
I think you can register up to a month out, but make sure you Google and check with your local state because all states will have different.
Yes, I believe in the state of Ohio, October 10th, I believe, is the last day you can register to vote in the state of Ohio. Out. Yes. So yes, rest peacefully, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and please do what she did as a part of her life and help carry on her memory by registering to vote and being a part of the change that you wish to see as a part of our great country. But yeah, that's just my little spiel.
More monkeys in the military. They got tails. That's a fifth appendage. That's the game changer, man.
Prehensile feet.
What's what? Come on. Domination.
Who wouldn't want to see a monkey holding 5 guns?
Right?
I'm just saying.
I don't need no Gatling gun, chain link bullshit. I got a monkey with 5 AKs, motherfucker.
Just saying. So, yeah. Chad, if you want to go ahead and hit him with the rundown.
To paraphrase Grandma's boy, shoot, monkey, shoot.
Shoot, monkey, shoot.
RealNerdCorp.com, RealNerdCorp.com. We're on Twitter at NerdCorp. We're on Instagram at RealNerdCorp. Swisher, where can they find your personals?
You can find my personals on Twitter. I'm at X2000Gregs. That's X2000 GREGS. And you can find me on Instagram, 2000Gregs, just 2000 GREGS. Chad, where can they find your personals?
Chad NerdCorp on Twitter, ChadNerdCorp. And on that's Twitter. Instagram is Chad's Photo Hut, ChadsphotoHut. We're back for next week's season 3 community. Tune in, same community time, same community
all right,
standard.
Yep, we're out of time. Yep, we're out of time. We gotta go. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week with another Chad and Swisher do a community podcast. We're out of time. We gotta go. See you next week. Goodbye.